The Mojave Wasteland is a strange place, made all the more bizarre if you chose the Wild Wasteland trait, something that changes many things, adding new encounters, weapons, people, places, items, and references. So if you want to know what's in store, watch on, otherwise, avert your eyes now. During the unmarked quest, Barton the Fink, Barton Thorne instructs the player to investigate an overlook just south of Goodsprings, intending to get you to the top and then take your stuff. At the site, the courier can find a dead prospector named Johnny Five Aces. He's wearing glasses, there's a glass pitcher beside him, and 5 aces, 4 laid on the table and 1 in his hand. Nearby there's also 4 red balls, all arranged in a straight line along the cliff edge. It's probably the weirdest encounter in New Vegas, certainly the most random anyway. Without the Wild Wasteland trait, the body is replaced with a generic dead prospector instead of Johnny, but the entire scene is a reference to an obscure game called Zyborn Clock. Zyborn Clock is an infamous failed video game project from 2006, conceived on the Something Awful forums. It later became an internet meme for its absurd design documents and dramatic collapse. The game was intended to be a 100-hour voice-acted steampunk RPG, which sounds pretty cool, but it fell apart within weeks due to a myriad of issues. Johnny Five Aces is one of its recurring characters, and the broader reference, the picture, the balls and whatnot, reflects the project's deliberate and convoluted storytelling ideas. The one thing that does make sense though is the line formed by the 4 red balls is actually a directional marker, pointing toward the next Wild Wasteland encounter. One of the earliest Wild Wasteland encounters you'll likely find is called That Fridge Was a Death Trap, also known as We Named the Dog Indiana. It appears just southeast of Goodsprings, right off the road. There, a discarded fridge sits in the sand with its door wrenched off. Inside is a curled up skeleton, still wearing a stylish gambler's hat, which you can take for a +1 perception boost. Still, no amount of stats really helps you here, unless you already recognize what the scene is referencing. The encounter is a direct parody of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Indiana survives a nuclear blast by hiding inside a lead-lined refrigerator. In that film, the fridge doesn't just protect him from the blast, but also carries him across the desert, bouncing around in a way no person would ever survive. Unless you're Indiana Jones, that is. Also, the encounter's name, That Fridge Was a Death Trap, is taken straight from the movie. After Indy survives the blast, he's told that refrigerators are dangerous hiding spots, a line that already feels like the film is acknowledging how absurd the scene really is. North of Harrowitz Farmstead is what looks like a standard mercenary camp, but with the Wild Wasteland trait, it quickly turns into something far stranger. From a distance it blends into the landscape, but getting up close reveals a crashed extraterrestrial craft, surrounded by 3 stranded aliens. The site is known as the Hovering Anomaly, and the wrecked UFO is surprisingly detailed, with cables and tubing spilling out of an open hatch, as if something went very wrong mid-flight, although the ship appears to be functional enough to the point of still being able to hover in place, hence the name. The captain carries a unique alien blaster, along with over 100 alien power cells, while the other 2 are armed with tri-beam laser rifles. It's a straightforward fight, but the payoff is the unusual weaponry they drop, with the alien blaster being one of the strongest weapons in the entire game. The craft itself is a callback to the crashed recon vessel Theta from Fallout 3, which is tied to the Mothership Zeta DLC, reinforcing the idea that this isn't the first time alien tech has ended up in the wasteland. And even after the Lone Wanderer's journey to the stars, the Zetans are still visiting Earth, for whatever reason that may be. Without the Wild Wasteland trait, this location tells a different story. Instead of aliens, it's a mercenary encampment with 4 hostile fighters. While you won't be able to get the alien blaster, one of the mercs is carrying something else, YCS/186, a unique Gauss rifle, so even if you don't pick the trait and get the encounter, not all is lost. What Is It Boy is an encounter that only appears if Rex is an active companion. While exploring, Rex will randomly bark, leading to the courier asking, "What is it, boy?" Rex responds with a Naru, which leads the courier to learn that little Jimmy may have fallen into a well. The location is then marked on your Pip-Boy. The marked site is found west of Nellis Air Force Base, beneath an overpass, where the well is located. Here, you can climb inside and find the remains of a child's skeleton, a mole rat, a BB gun, 200 BBs, and a few other bits and pieces. The encounter is a reference to a similar quest in Fallout 2. In a town called Modoc, the Chosen One can search for a boy named Johnny. With help from a dog named Laddie, the player can learn that Johnny may have fallen into the town well and been eaten by a mole rat, leaving behind his Red Ryder BB gun. Johnny is later revealed to be alive, trapped northeast of Modoc at a place called the Ghost Farm. Sadly, unlike Johnny in Fallout 2, little Jimmy doesn't have a happy ending. The quest is also another reference, this time to the 1954 Lassie TV series, where Timmy, not Jimmy or Johnny, is frequently placed in dangerous situations, and Lassie, not Laddie or Rex, alerts nearby people to the boy's location. Despite the trope, Timmy never actually falls into a well, though he often ends up in similar predicaments. Interestingly, little Jimmy shares a name with another character in Fallout New Vegas. For that reason, there was a time where I once thought this little Jimmy was the same little Jimmy Lily Bowen mentions when she mistakes the courier for her grandson.
Jimmy! Little Jimmy! My, how you're grown up! So good of you to come visit your grandma. Oh, Jimmy, don't you go being silly now. Come over here and give your grandma some sugar. Of course I have, dearie. How silly of me. I didn't take my medicine yet today. How can I help you?
We're supposed to believe Jimmy was taken by the Master and turned into a super mutant, but the Wasteland is a wild place, and perhaps the boy escaped, made it to the well, died, and remained there for several decades. It's a long shot, I know, but it's also a fascinating and strange coincidence. While roaming Freeside, there's a chance you'll wind up helping the Garretts at the Atomic Wrangler wrangle up some new entertainment for their clientele. One such performer being the fully integrated Security Technotronic Officer, or FISTO. The robot can be found at Cerulean Robotics in Outer Freeside, and it's while leaving the building that the courier can be ambushed by a group of 3 elderly women known as Maud's Muggers, also referred to as Granny's Gang. The trio, Irate Ida, Rancorous Ruth, and Malefic Maud, wear pre-war spring outfits and attack using rolling pins and switchblades. Freeside locals and drunks may occasionally mention the women beforehand, describing them as a fearsome gang, harassing townspeople, while somehow managing to avoid the NCR. The old ladies also tend to carry small amounts of caps, implying that their previous muggings have been successful. Like most of the Wild Wasteland encounters, this one is a reference, specifically to the Monty Python sketch Hell's Grannies, which involves a violent gang of elderly women terrorizing younger people in the streets. What's interesting is the gang is made up of 4 members, while Maud's Muggers only has 3, so maybe there's a 4th, Cantankerous Catherine, for example, still out there somewhere. While investigating suspicious activity during the quest I Put a Spell on You, the courier can uncover evidence that someone has been using the Camp McCarran control tower during the night as part of a covert operation. If this information is reported to Captain Ronald Curtis, and the player then later stakes out the location, Curtis himself arrives and ambushes them. Just before the attack begins, he says,
"You're getting too close, Seamus."
This encounter, also known as getting too close, plays out as a direct consequence of uncovering Curtis's true identity. Captain Ronald Curtis is an NCR officer at Camp McCarran who is secretly working as a spy for Caesar's Legion. As for the phrase, "you're getting too close, Seamus," which sounds out of place, it's taken directly from the Carmen Sandiego series of video games. Most notably, Where in the USA is Carmen Sandiego? In that game, NPCs would warn the player when they were getting close to apprehending a criminal. Seamus is an early 20th century slang for a private detective. So, "you're getting too close, Seamus" simply means "you're getting too close, detective." Having mentioned detectives, during the side quest Beyond the Beef, the courier can discover the body of a dead investigator inside one of the ultra-luxe hotel rooms. Examining the crime scene reveals the victim's name to be Crusoe, a man with bright red hair, a business suit, and sunglasses. One thing to note is the sunglasses give the wearer +2 perception, making crime solving a little bit easier. The encounter is a reference to CSI Miami, specifically the show's lead character Horatio Caine, played by David Caruso. Crusoe's appearance mirrors Caine's signature look, particularly the red hair and sunglasses, while his name is also a play on the actor's surname. Not sure why the surname needed to be changed, copyright maybe? Either way, having an NPC, even a dead one, called Crusoe and appearing in a quest involving cannibals creates an interesting parallel with Daniel Defoe's novel Robinson Crusoe, wherein Crusoe is marooned on an island and while trying to survive, he encounters cannibals who eat people, just like the White Gloves. And for that reason, I believe this encounter is a strange combination of both CSI Miami and Robinson Crusoe, rather than a single reference. Not to mention the official game guide calls the encounter Crusoe Sucks as an Investigator. If this was a stab at Caruso playing a bad detective, it isn't clear. But Robinson Crusoe is primarily a trader and a merchant, and would make a poor detective. And because of that, I'm leaning more toward it being a strange hybrid of media rather than a single piece. But let me know what you think in the comments. In certain underground locations like Brockflower Cave, the courier may encounter unusually large, irradiated rats. These creatures are much larger and function as far more dangerous variants of their smaller counterparts. With the Wild Wasteland trait, they are renamed from giant rats to rodents of unusual size. Deep within the cave system, a makeshift laboratory can be found on the upper level. Here you can find a unique weapon leaning against the table, Rat Slayer, a modified varmint rifle with every modification under the sun. It benefits from improved critical chance, making it particularly effective against lightly armored targets, like giant rats. Based on the age of my average viewer, I'm guessing you already know what this encounter is referencing. But if you didn't, the encounter is a reference to the Princess Bride, specifically the Roas, or rodents of unusual size, that inhabit the fire swamp Wesley and Buttercup use to hide from her fiancé.
Wesley, what about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Speaking of lovers running from danger, just in front of a ruined Nipton house to the right of the town hall, the courier can find 2 charred skeletons lying side by side. Examining the remains reveals the male skeleton is named Owen and the female Baru. The bodies are the result of the Legion's massacre of Nipton. After taking control of the town, Caesar's Legion gathered the inhabitants and forced them into a lottery that determined their fate. Victims were then executed according to their tickets, with punishments ranging from decapitation and crucifixion to enslavement. Some, including the mayor, were burned alive as part of the Legion's judgment, leaving part of the town scorched in the aftermath. The encounter is a reference to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, where Luke Skywalker's uncle and aunts are burned to death after Imperial forces attack their home. At Camp Searchlight, in the basement of the East Church, the courier can find a crate of holy frag grenades. On the box is a written instruction that reads, "Holy hand grenades, pull pin, count not to 5, 3, and throw." The holy frag is many times more powerful than a standard grenade, and without the Wild Wasteland trait, the grenades will be absent, although they will be replaced with 2 mini-nukes instead. Sadly, ignoring the instructions doesn't change the outcome. You can throw the grenade after 1 second or 10, and the result is the same. As for what this means, the encounter is a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, specifically the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and the confusion surrounding its correct method of use, particularly the instruction to count to a sacred number before throwing it.
Right. 1, 2, 5. 3.
The item also appears in Fallout 2, where King Arthur and his knights appear in a special encounter, asking the Chosen One if they have seen the Holy Hand Grenade. In a follow-up encounter, the knights would then be seen confronting a giant rat, with the holy hand grenade found nearby, which could then be used to instantly kill the rat, recreating the film's original scene, although it was a rabbit rather than a rat. Sadly, the encounter is notoriously bugged, requiring fan patches or console commands to reach. Despite this, the holy hand grenade has become a recurring joke and even appears again in Season 2 of the Fallout TV show. Scrawled across the north wall of the Cottonwood Cove headquarters is a piece of graffiti reading Romanus Eunt Domus. To anyone familiar with Latin, the phrase is wrong, roughly translating to people called Romanes, they go, the house, rather than the intended Romans go home. The encounter is a reference to Monty Python's Life of Brian, where Brian attempts to write anti-Roman graffiti using the exact same phrase before being confronted by a centurion. Instead of punishing him for the message itself, the centurion corrects Brian's grammar and forces him to repeatedly write the proper Latin translation across the wall, 100 times by morning, or have his balls cut off. During the side quest Beyond the Beef, if Heck Gunderson is framed for murdering his own son, Ted Gunderson, a Securitron will come and arrest him. During the arrest, the escorting Securitron shows no particular concern for Heck's fate, simply carrying out its orders, and it may say, while doing so,
"Dead or alive, you're coming with me."
This phrase is a reference to Robocop, where the line is spoken by the protag during confrontations with criminal scum.
"Dead or alive, you are coming with me."
I know you. You're dead. We killed you!
On the topic of Securitrons, while in combat with any character who is caught trespassing, the Securitrons guarding the strip's gate will repeatedly shout,
"Exterminate!"
Exterminate is a reference to the Daleks, a genocidal race of armored extraterrestrials from Doctor Who frequently use the phrase exterminate throughout the series, many times.
Impossible.
Doctor! Exterminate!
Near the Devil's Throat sits a massive unexploded nuclear bomb known as the One. A nearby super mutant encampment keeps watch over the area, usually populated by several super mutant masters alongside assorted ghouls. As for the bomb itself, it's identical to the one from Megaton. It is a reused asset, after all. It gives off the same 1 to 3 ticks of rads per second. However, unlike its counterpart, instead of disarming it or rigging it to explode, the bomb can be salvaged. With a science skill of 60 or more, the courier can access the interior and loot it for energy ammunition. Without the Wild Wasteland trait, the bomb becomes absent, leaving only a small blackened crater emitting around 1 rad per second, though the super mutants will still be there. If listening to the NCR emergency radio during the second battle for Hoover Dam, the usual military chatter about sniper positions and defensive coordinations can occasionally be interrupted by reports of troopers under heavy attack. Amid the chaos, 2 distinct panic-stricken lines may be heard.
"They're coming out of the walls, man! They're coming out of the damn walls! Game over, man! Game over!"
This is a reference to Aliens. The lines are spoken by Private First Class William Hudson during the film's final act as the colonial marines are overwhelmed by xenomorphs on the alien hive planet.
Who's firing? God damn it! I ordered to hold fire.
Coming out of the goddamn wall! What?
I'm sorry, Newt.
You don't have to be sorry. It wasn't your fault.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
During the quest King's Gambit, a Wild Wasteland dialogue option appears when discussing the Pacer situation with Ambassador Crocker. If the courier mentions that Pacer has a heart condition and is addicted to Jet, and implies that Crocker should understand what to do with that information, he responds,
"Damn it, I'm an ambassador, not a doctor. You'll have to find some other way."
This line is a variation of a recurring Star Trek phrase spoken by Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. where he is often frustrated and responds with variations of,
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
You're a healer. There's a patient. That's an order.
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
Look, I'm a doctor, not an escalator. Spot, give me a hand. I'm a doctor, not a mechanic. I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
No, you're an engineer.
I'm a doctor, not a coal miner.
You keep saying that. Are you a doctor, aren't you?
I don't know.
If the courier warns Motor Runner, the leader of the Fiends, that they are there to kill him, Motor Runner will refer to his dogs, Bone Nash and Nash Bone, as Donnie and Marie before engaging the courier in combat. Apparently there's also a script that would change Bone Nash's and Nash Bones' names to Donnie and Marie, which is said to be unused. Although the dogs were already called Donnie and Marie as soon as I entered the room, probably the result of some mod I have installed, so the results may differ for you. Even so, this is a reference to the 1976 TV series Donnie and Marie, a variety show hosted by siblings Donnie and Marie Osmond that featured musical performances, comedy sketches, and guest appearances. Not sure why these two dogs were given these specific names. Maybe Vault 3 had some pre-war holotapes lying around, and after Motor Runner took over the vaults, he started watching them and became a fan of the show. So much so he renamed his dogs after the two stars. Just a dumb theory, but hey, this is the Wild Wasteland. The Pimp-Boy 3 Billion is a modified Pip-Boy 3000 decked out with gold, silver, and diamond-like embellishments. It automatically replaces the standard Pip-Boy when obtained, though it can be swapped back by speaking to Mick at Mick and Ralph's in Freeside. The Pimp-Boy itself is tied to the How Little We Know quest, involving Mick's broken weapons trade with the Omertas in Gomorrah. Depending on how the quest is resolved, the courier can either restore Mick's business or free Troik, with both routes ultimately allowing Mick to reward the Pimp-Boy 3 Billion. You don't need the Wild Wasteland trait to get it though. Instead, with the trait active, all that changes is when you equip the Pimp-Boy 3 Billion, there's some disco music that plays in the background. Speaking of music, Mr. New Vegas is the smooth, artificial voice of Radio New Vegas, broadcasting music and news across the Mojave Wasteland from the New Vegas Strip. He occasionally delivers unique Wild Wasteland radio lines, such as,
You know, I tried to measure my charisma on a Vitomatic vigor tester once. The machine burst into flames. Mojave, mo problems. Am I right? Stay classy, New Vegas.
The first is a unique Wild Wasteland line, rather than a reference. As for the other two, Stay Classy New Vegas is a reference to Anchorman, the legend of Ron Burgundy.
That's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, Sandiego. I'm Ron Burgundy.
And Mojave Mo Problems is a reference to the notorious B.I.G.'s song, Mo Money, Mo Problems.
That's right at all, man. The more money you make, the more problems you get. And jealousy and envy is something that comes with the territory, man. A lot of people, it's just negative energy, like my man Puff say.
On the topic of having problems, these last two Wild Wasteland encounters are both bugged and do not function as intended in normal gameplay. If the courier's reputation with Freeside is either hated or vilified, some Freeside locals may shout, witch, you should be burned for all the people you've turned into newts. In another instance, if Cass is an active companion in Freeside, she may be hit on by King's gang members, prompting her to respond with,
Ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Both lines fail to trigger correctly due to a shared scripting issue. The Wild Wasteland condition is incorrectly tied to the wrong actor in each case. Instead of checking whether the player has the trait, the witch line checks the speaking NPC, while the Cass dialogue checks Cass herself, meaning neither can properly appear in normal gameplay. The first is a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
What makes you think she's a witch? Oh, she's turned me into a newt. A newt. Got better.
The second is a reference to the song Hound Dog, originally performed by Big Mama Thornton and later covered by Elvis Presley. That's all of the Wild Wasteland encounters in the base game. As you can see, the encounters, the ones that work anyway, replace parts of the Mojave with a layer of absurdist references and unexpected interactions, turning familiar locations into something more unpredictable and reminiscent of Fallout 2. There are still more encounters to find in the DLC locations, which is a video for another time. Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you'd like to see in a future video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.